Hey everybody, I'm Adam Biggers, Michigan and Michigan State beat writer for FanRag Sports.com. Thanks for tuning in to this live edition of the Sports in the Mitten podcast powered by Mr. Spots in Ann Arbor. Hope everybody's enjoying their pre-4th of July weekend, whatever you're doing, mowing the lawn, playing baseball, tennis, I see it, running, all kinds of stuff. Great weekend, golfing, like some of the Twitter question askers today. Want to get into that. Originally, I planned to just do a podcast, kind of recap some of the stuff that I've written on FanRag Sports, and I will do that. Just followed the article on Cesar Ruiz today. A couple days ago, one on Eddie McDoom, and about a week ago, or a few days before that, on Devin Bush, and kind of a little Florida thing going on with the Wolverines. I talked to a few guys during a youth camp this past Saturday, or a week ago Saturday. So, first and foremost, we'll get to that at the end. Again, I want to thank everybody for tuning in. Give me a follow on Twitter at AdamBiggers81. Go ahead and subscribe to my YouTube channel if you're watching right now. I'm going to take a drink and we're going to get into this. All right. At first, I thought Matt Voltaggio. He is a longtime, loyal podcast listener, reads all my stuff, very active on Facebook, always asking questions. Big Michigan fan, very knowledgeable, like discussing things with him. Originally, I thought that he gave me the only question, so I was going to just do his question, and then I was going to talk about the articles. And then I kind of issued a challenge on Twitter to which many of you have responded, so I appreciate that. And I know it's a holiday weekend, but you guys always want to talk Michigan football. I just wrote, a few stories this past week. I want to talk Michigan football, so I asked and I received. So Matt was on Facebook, and I'll get to his first, and then I'm scrolling through them right now. I want to say, I don't know, somewhere in the range of at least 8 to 10 questions within, like a 10-minute span. So I'm going to go to my Facebook page. I'm going to start with Matt's question first. And it's basically, if I can find, sorry, I've had, just kind of got a lot. And then I started opening up some tabs. So anyway, I think Matt wanted to know about Wilton Speight's leash, because I had a couple questions about that. Yeah. Or will Wilton Speight start every game for Michigan if healthy? Sorry it took so long. My answer, and I think if anybody's read my stuff or listened to the podcast, Wilton Speight's the guy. I know that Brandon Peters he's going to be a good quarterback next year. This is Wilton Speight's team. Pep Hamilton, I remember, National Signing Day, referred to Wilton as the face of the program. So it's not, I know that there's a lot of discussion, and there is competition, and Brandon is pushing Wilton. Wilton Speight is the guy, if healthy, until otherwise. And that brings on another question, because there is an otherwise. There are always two arguments. I mean, I can't just come out here and say 100% he's going to be there. There are other circumstances. But if he plays up to the ability, or plays as well as he did last year, he completed like 61% of his passes. He had the third highest quarterback rating in the Big Ten. I mean, he was efficient. He had very good numbers. I know that there were, and we could talk about the mistakes. I mean, there could probably be a separate podcast on when Wilton, what moments kind of, the bad moments for Wilton, for lack of a better term. There were a few, but I mean, he won 9 games as a starter. So that's a long answer, Matt, and I appreciate the question. Now that brings me on, and I'm sorry, one just popped up on the screen. If you want to do it again, I'm sorry, it faded away. I'm getting used to the YouTube live thing. The comments don't stay up there too long. So, and that goes back to another question about Speight, and this is from, sorry, I'm scrolling down. This one is from Brad at Bradley U of M on Twitter. How short of a string is Speight on? Well, I think given the expectations, and then we have to factor in also how close is Brandon Peters, right? So if Wilton comes out of camp and he's far and above the best quarterback on the roster, then I think he's going to have a little more margin for error, right? If the competition is closer and Brandon was really nipping on his heels and Brandon is, maybe it comes down to a toss-up thing. But, I mean, I have to believe experience-wise, I have to believe just everything-wise with Wilton. He's a good quarterback. And I almost feel like I defend him a little bit to Wolverines fans. And I've said this several times in other podcasts, and I think I've written even as much. It's like if Wilton Speight was the starting quarterback from any other team, I think if you were a fan, you'd be happy with that. Now, shoot, Michigan Nation, I'm sorry, man. I've missed both of them. Something about agreed. If you want to ask on Twitter, that might be the better option, at AdamBiggers81, because these things literally stay up. It's like a little blurb. It stays up for not even 2 seconds. So, to answer your question, Brad, and you had a couple, how short of a string is Speight on? Again, I think that depends on how close the competition is with Brandon Peters, but I think that Wilton would have to absolutely struggle. And when I say struggle, I mean I'm talking, get some kind of interception bug, not converting on third down, missing open receivers. And I know last year there were some talk, okay, he wasn't the most accurate all the time on the long ball, and we could go through and rewatch film and cite, probably several plays. But at the end of the day, Wilton Speight is Michigan's best quarterback. I don't think he'll be on that short of a string or a leash or whatever you want to call it, because I do believe that he has the skills to lead this offense. So, I mean, if I'm a Michigan fan, I know that Brandon Peters, he's got the big arm, and I saw him in the spring game. I talked to Brandon. Brandon has it. Brandon's going to be the guy next year. If I'm a Michigan fan, my advice to you guys is just relax. Wilton Speight is a very good quarterback. Just relax. And this kind of goes on to a couple other questions. One of my favorite followers on Twitter, Intent to Deceive, at Nezzy21. If you're not following Nezzy, you're missing out a lot. Nezzy is hilarious on Twitter. I really enjoy going back and forth. So here's some questions from Nezzy. Pick one in each category, and I could write articles about these, and I think I have at some point. Pick one in each category. Instant impact frosh, surprise player, somebody on the team that didn't play much and emerges this year. Team MVP, instant impact frosh. Well, I think it's the same case as it was last year, right? I mean, we saw, it was 23, 24 true freshmen they played, actually did something, recorded, some type of stat was recorded. So many guys last year, and I remember talking with Eddie McDoom about that, saying, last year, and he was one of those guys, right? I mean, so many talented true freshmen got their feet wet, and I mean, it's so this year, I don't think we're going to see as many, right? Because there's, out of those 24 freshmen last year, now they're coming in, they have a little bit of experience as a sophomore, and they may have a leg up. But I do think we'll see some true freshmen. I think Cesar Ruiz, the more I think about Cesar, and I just filed an article on Cesar, check that out. That'll be on FanRag Sports at some point this weekend, maybe today, I don't know. But the more I talk to Cesar, the more he reminds me of Grant Newsome. And Grant, an extremely intelligent guy, really talented too. I mean, it's heartbreaking, right? When you know the story of what happened to Grant Newsome, it's one of those things. It's like it's unfair. A freak accident, a true freak accident. I mean, it was nearly life threatening. I mean, he could have lost his leg in that too. So, long answer for this one. Cesar Ruiz, I think, is going to be an impact freshman. If I have to pick one, and it's because I just wrote about him. But there's cases for other guys: Tariq Black, Donovan Peoples-Jones, Aubrey Solomon. We could go up and down the list, but those are a few guys that come to mind immediately as far as impact freshmen. So surprise player, someone on the team that didn't play much and emerges this year, and this goes to another question, and I'll get it too. Maybe Ty Isaac. Is Ty Isaac the surprise finally? I mean, he's good for like a 74 and 76-yard touchdown, and then he disappears. You don't see him for the rest of the season. So is this, I don't know if Ty even qualifies as a surprise player anymore. Michigan Nation, I was agreeing with you that you were saying Speight is starter all year unless there's crazy circumstances. Got it. Thanks, Michigan Nation. Yeah, I think that's the way to think. Just followed, I appreciate it. Iron Cross Bulwark. I don't know what you mean by that, Iron Cross, but Yeah, I think there's only one way to look at Wilton Speight and Michigan's quarterback situation. Wilton is the guy until something happens, right? Forbid injury. Bulwark, Isaac. So Aaron Cross, are you saying that Ty Isaac is that your surprise player this year? And does he even qualify as a surprise player anymore? Right? We've been waiting on Ty for 3 years. At least I have, and I think a lot of people. Everybody, Ty Isaac's that guy who's like, don't forget about Ty Isaac, and it's he'll carry the heavy load. Well, yeah, okay, yeah, Bulwark. I understand when you say that. I mean, I believe that. But I mean, there's fullbacks too, right? I mean, I think Khalid Hill is probably going to get the majority of the heavy load. I mean, Khalid Hill's good for a touchdown anywhere within a body length of the goal line. So, I would ideally, what do you want to see? You want to see Ty Isaac, with those nice 8, 9, 10-yard runs. I mean, he's not going to get the little scrappy yard carries. He's going to run guys over and get first downs. I mean, ideally, that's what he wants. He will get the goal line stuff. Last year, who got the goal line stuff? That was Khalid, right? Ty would be a candidate for that. But and you still have Henry Poggi, but Khalid Hill, I think Khalid Hill is going to be the goal line workhorse, honestly. But, okay, back to that. And then intent to deceive, Nezzy, team MVP. I don't know, man. Come on, that's going to be hard. Mo Hurst, Rashawn Gary, or Wilton Speight. Those are 3 guys immediately that come up top of my head. This one comes from Adam Howling, at Adam Howling, Holling. Will DPJ, Black, and Collins all start? Who will be second in carries behind Evans, Chris Evans? And who will be the starters in the secondary? That is loaded. Will DPJ, Black, and Collins all start? No. Donovan, Mike, Khalid, Michigan Nation, I'm sorry I missed that. Pop it up again. I'm watching. I'm trying to read this too. I think either Donovan or Tariq's going to start, honestly. And I remember, and I'll go back to a conversation that I had with Wilton Speight after the spring game. He said both of these guys, just the way that they move to the ball, the way that they understand the routes, they're not coming in. Khalid should always get the ball inside the 2. Always, yeah, mandatory, right? Give him the ball and he leans forward. That's all he had. Khalid Hill was the most efficient player, and I don't know, I'm going to throw this one out there, and someone, if I'm wrong on the stats, correct me, but Khalid Hill had to be the most efficient player in college football last year. If you look touchdown, yard ratio, all of that considered, Khalid was easily the most efficient. I remember telling him that, and he laughed about it. I mean, he knows. It's automatic. Give him the ball. All right, let me see here. Second in carries behind Chris Evans, I think Kareem Walker, Michigan Nation, a couple times last year we didn't give it to him inside the 2 and we didn't score. Yeah. I mean, the value of Khalid Hill is a real thing. Very much so. Back to Adam's question. Hold on, guys. Will DPJ, Black, and Collins all start? No, I think Donovan or Tariq will. Who will be second in carries behind Chris Evans? I think it's Kareem Walker. I really like Kareem. But Karan Higdon, too. That's a little trio that I really like. I really like those guys. Who will be starters in the secondary? Whew, that's a good one. I think Khalik Hudson's going to start at safety. I think he and Josh Metellus are going to split reps. So Josh explained it to me while he's playing Viper. Khalik will play safety. When Josh plays safety, Khalik will be a Viper. They're going to kind of interchange there. I think David Long and Lavert Hill have a good chance back there. Maybe Tyree Cannell. Those are some guys. Yeah, Lavert Hill will get some good playing time. Hopefully, I think so. And Lavert, I believe it was Eddie was talking about how Eddie McDoom was talking about how athletic Lavert Hill was. It was somebody. Ambry Thomas. I don't know. I want to see Ambry bulk up a little bit. He's definitely talented. I mean, there's so many guys back there. I mean, Jalen Kelly Powell is going to be a guy. Maybe not this year, but I mean, I pull up the roster. I mean, you guys know the secondary. Ambry at a safety. I don't know. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. That's high hopes. That's high hopes for him. I mean, this one comes from at Detroit_biz. Go Blue Biz. I think Ty Isaac puts it together this year. Zone blocking, one cut, and go. Perfect for his skill set, in my opinion. Am I nuts? And Go Blue Biz. I think I just kind of covered it. I had your question in mind. Hill and Long Corners says Iron Cross. That makes sense. I wouldn't bet against it. It makes sense. Go Blue Biz. Go Blue Biz. I think Ty Isaac puts it together this year. Zone blocking, one cut, and go. Perfect for skill set, in my opinion. Am I nuts? Continuing good. No, you're not nuts. And I had I had your question in mind when I was addressing Nezzy when he asked about a breakout player this year. No, and again, do you think that Ty even qualifies for a breakout player, or is it kind of a guy? It's like it's about time he put it together. Is your glass half full or half empty? Another question. This one's another one from Brad. At Bradley, U of M. Got another one. Do Mo and Gary have the opportunity to both get double-digit sacks? Yes. I mean, look at last year's defensive line, right? I mean, Taco depends. I'd say 9.5 or 10. I think M Go Blue has it at 9.5, or maybe it's at 10. And then I've seen 10.5. It's in there. He had 10 sacks on one good leg. Fully healthy ankle. So do Mo and Gary have the opportunity to both get double-digit sacks? In theory, yeah, but I mean, I think it's good. Really, I think it's going to be one or the other, because if you look at the defensive line right now, they're not entering like last year when they had the names alone. I mean, Brian Glasgow, Taco Charlton. I mean, you already knew that Rashawn was coming in. They had, Brian Monet this year, if he's healthy too. So, I mean, I think people are really kind of waking up to Mo Hurst, and they're going to do their job I forgot how many sacks he had last year. I want to say probably like 6 or 7. I have to look it up. I sometimes have this stuff memorized and then it goes away and then I have to refresh myself. But one of them's going to have double-digit sacks. Both of them have the opportunity. I don't know, because it's like I said, one of those guys. I mean, you have to believe that the opposing offensive coordinator, they're going to key in like, okay, this is Mo Hurst. So that's what's going to happen. Or Rashawn Gary, one of those guys. But together, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they both combine, for like 15, 16 sacks. Let's say both, 7.5, 8.5 year for both, those guys, something like that, close to. But reaching double digits, I'm not, positive. This one comes from Salim, and Salim, at Salim Siddiqui. Go follow him. Salim is funny. He's a Michigan State fan, and he will let you know it. And Nezzy, if you're watching, or any of you guys who follow me, I think you guys interact with Salim. This one's a Wilton Speight question. How long will it take for Speight to lose his job? Geez, you're so optimistic, Salim. It's going to take a lot. A lot. And let me see. And this one comes... This is a reply to at Bradley U of M. How short of a string is Speight on? And this is from ND at Decam Neal. DEKAMNEIL. And this is a reply to how short of a string is Speight on? I would say a pick 6 and a goal line fumble. He's got a Ohio State avatar. I mean, that's a fair dig, right? But I don't know. That's funny. Good job, Decam Neal. I mean, I don't know. It is funny. If you can't laugh about it, then you're not funny either. So, anyway, I think those are all the questions, unless I get a few more here. I would like to end today's episode briefly talking about, like I said, wrote a feature on Devin Bush, Sr. And it was more about kind of Josh Metellus. But Devin Bush Sr., just fantastic example for these guys. Like a father figure to Josh Metellus, he was telling me that. Same thing with Devin Gill. And I mean, Devin Bush and Josh Uche too. Josh met them a little bit later through camps. But Devin Bush, Devin Gill, and Josh Metellus all attended Flanagan High School in Pembroke Pines, Florida. Coach Bush Sr. was their coach there. And he's literally taking kids into his house, feeds them, clothes them, makes sure they're on top of their work. I mean, so... I had a lot of fun writing that story, because I liked the stories with that kind of connection, and I had the opportunity to speak with Coach Bush. He was visiting with a recruit, and he came over and talked to me, and he was just like, this, I wasn't trained for this. This isn't something I try to do. It's just what he does. He's an older brother. And Devin Bush Jr. told me, that he takes a lot of pride in seeing his dad do that. And I didn't want to put words in his mouth. This would be, if you're that kid and, okay, you want your dad's attention, right? And he's giving his attention to a lot of other kids. And I'm not trying to say that he was jealous, but he understood it. And a lot of kids maybe can't understand that. They realize that he's got a dad that's capable of, doing things for a lot of other kids. So really great conversation with all those guys. They were laughing, joking. Really like, Josh Uche, he's going to have a big year too. Look out for Josh this year. He might, surprise player. He didn't play much last year. Watch out for Josh Uche. So I want to thank everybody for watching today. Check out my Eddie McDoom feature on FanRagSports.com. Check out the one that I just filed on Cesar Ruiz. That should be running maybe today or tomorrow. Again, follow me on Twitter at AdamBiggers81, FanRagSports.com, at FanRagSports, at FanRag_U. This is the Sports in the Mitten podcast, at Mitten Sports MI. And again, I want to thank Tim McKeith at Mr. Spots in Ann Arbor I cannot wait for Monday press conferences because they cater to us every other Monday. And steak sandwiches, wings, waffle fries. That's how I got hooked. And then I emailed them and I was like, hey guys, would you like to give me free food and sponsor my podcast? And they said sure. So if you're in the area, 808 State in Ann Arbor, you will not be sorry. Want to thank Iron Cross, Michigan Nation, all you guys watching live and commenting. I really appreciate it. Going to do this at least once a week during the off season. Once the season gets off, week one, or once we get into camp and availability, I'll be doing them probably every day or every other day. So again, thanks for watching. Subscribe to my channel. Follow me on Twitter. You guys have a safe and happy 4th of July, pre-4th of July weekend. Have fun with the fireworks and doing whatever else that you do. And I will talk to you guys next week.